So have you heard about the Metaverse? The Metaverse is a new type of environment or technology that is emerging that combines VR and AR, virtual reality, augmented reality, and many people think that this could replace the internet. And Facebook is so confident about this that it is actually planning to become a Metaverse company in 5 years. And so confident is Mark Zuckerberg that he's actually changing the name of Facebook to get ready for this rebranding to prepare for the metaverse and this transition for his company. So we're going to be talking about the metaverse and virtual reality. And the big question is, could virtual reality take over and replace actual reality? And again, this might seem far-fetched, but as you can see, these very big companies are making plans for the impact that this new emerging technology is going to alter the world. And not only are we going to be talking about if virtual reality could replace reality, could Facebook take over reality? I know that might seem kind of far-fetched and silly to say, but I mean, if you think about the impact that Facebook has on social media and how much that is a part of our lives, think about what happens when VR starts emerging and taking over, and then if Facebook monopolizes on that platform. Very big implications indeed. So we're talking about VR, we're talking about the future, we're talking about, is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? We're going to see. It very much depends on the path that humanity chooses to take. So let's talk about the metaverse and virtual reality, and can VR replace actual reality? And we're going to start talking about this by looking at let's define what the metaverse is, because I know that a lot of people actually haven't heard of this, even though it's going to be something very important potentially. So what is the metaverse? And this is an article from BBC. It says, to the outsider, it may look like a souped up version of virtual reality, but some people think the metaverse could be the future of the internet. In fact, the belief is that it could be to VR what modern smartphones were to the first clunky mobile phones of the 1980s. So that's an interesting way to think about it. I mean, if you think about the phones, if you don't know, the mobile phones in the 1980s were huge. They were like bricks. They were bigger than bricks. They were like, this tall and this thick, and all they did was make calls. And you can see the huge difference between that and today's modern smartphones. They fit in the palm of your hand. You can do almost anything you can think of on there. Now, essentially, what this article is saying is that the metaverse compared to VR is like smartphones compared to those clunky phones in the 1980s. So it is similar to VR, but much, much more advanced. So instead of being on a computer in the metaverse, you might use a headset to enter a virtual world connecting all sorts of digital environments. Now, unlike current VR, which is mostly used for gaming, this virtual world could be used for practically anything: work, play, concerts, cinema trips, or just hanging out. Most people envision that you would have a 3D avatar, a representation of yourself as you use it. But because it's still just an idea, there's no single agreed definition of the metaverse. So a couple different things I want to talk about here. So is the metaverse a big deal? What's going on here? I mean, is it something that's actually going to happen? Well, the reason why that, it should be taken seriously, and it's not just a pie in the sky idea, is that, big businesses are taking it seriously. And it's not that, whatever they say automatically legitimizes something, but that they always want to be in control. And so they are going to be looking to the next big thing to make sure that they dominate the market. And so Facebook, as we're going to see here, is actually planning to become a metaverse company in 5 years. And Facebook is actually planning to rebrand itself and change its name to get ready for the metaverse. So Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, is taking this very, very seriously. Now, of course, we have to see what happens, but as you can see, it's something to think about. Now, this idea of virtual reality in general, there's a lot of things to talk about here, but you can see where virtual reality is starting to, and could, with the metaverse, begin to replace actual reality. Because as you can see, unlike current VR, which is just for gaming, mostly, this could be used for practically anything: work, play, concerts, going to the movies, or even just hanging out. So, this idea of VR replacing actual reality might seem kind of like a far-fetched idea, but really it isn't. If you have any sort of ability to project into the future, you can see how technology is evolving and constantly improving, how this will become more and more realistic. And we can see big companies like Facebook are very interested in this. And think about what will happen if VR becomes so realistic that it becomes indistinguishable from actual reality. And then think about if we could invent, say, technology where not only that it's just a visual simulation, but what if you could also simulate touch? Imagine some sort of body, I'm just giving an example here, but imagine some sort of bodysuit that was skin tight that you wore, that was hooked up with different sort of electrical signal generating equipment. Now, of course, this would be well into the future, but who knows? It could be sooner than later. Look how fast technology evolves. So imagine that, again, you have this virtual world that is indistinguishable from the real world, and where touch and taste and smell and everything is simulated to the real world as well. Why would you even ever take that headset off? You can be whoever you want. You could do whatever you want. You could look however you want. You could be. And so now, is this a good thing or is it a bad thing? Well, we're going to see it's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of people think, wow, this is super dystopian and scary. Well, it just depends on how you use it. It could be great. It could be horrible. It could lead to building the kingdom of heaven on earth, or it could lead to a hellish world. It really depends on how it's used, just like the internet itself. The internet itself is not a bad thing, and same thing with social media. In and of itself, these are not bad things. They're simply tools. However, they can be used in a very negative way. Someone can use the internet to learn, have all the knowledge at their fingertips, to browse, books of philosophy, learn about Hyperionism, learn about all these different, use it to evolve. Someone else might use the internet to, just look at cat pictures all day and watch Netflix all day and do nothing else and rot their mind. And also, if these things are taken over by corporations, they can be used as mechanisms to feed you simply time-wasting, addictive shit, simply to sell you products. Now, and we're going to see this is really important when talking about the metaverse and VR in general. But before we get into that, I just want to give you this idea of it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. It could be something great, because imagine that we're able to create this virtual world. And in Hyperionism, I talk a lot about how in the future, if humanity chooses the path of reason in Hyperionism, we'll be able to create these, as we grow in harmony and synchronization, we will be able to create our own collective shared dream world together. VR really is a precursor to that. It really is. And our ability to create this shared dream world together will involve our evolution mentally, as a collective, and technologically. So this creation of VR environments is a stepping stone to that. Because imagine not only creating a virtual world, say with a virtual headset and let's say a bodysuit that you wear that could simulate touch, but imagine when Hyperionism, spreads and humanity begins to research ontological mathematics. Because right now, VR is just a product of understanding the physical laws of reality, right? That's what VR depends on, understanding the physical laws of reality. Ontological mathematics reveals the mental laws of reality, the domain of frequency that underlies physicality. So imagine when the greatest minds of the world together, collectively, begin to understand ontological mathematics, apply that to our evolution, and apply that to technology. Imagine how much where VR could take us let's see how far VR can take us just by understanding physicality. Imagine how far it could take us when not only do we understand physicality, but we understand the laws and the operations of the frequency domain and mental reality. Think about what we could create then. It would start going beyond VR, and we would begin to create these worlds. Do you see where I'm going with this? How we can unlock so much more. And so this idea, and it's all tied up. Everything is tied up together, because remember, technology is not something necessarily separate from us. It's how we control our environment. It is a product of us. It is a product of us. So it's really not the correct thing to look at technology as somehow being against us or alien to us or foreign to us or opposed to nature. It isn't. We are nature, and technology is just an extension of us. Technology is our conscious understanding of nature and our manipulation of it. It's our conscious transformation of it. Except humanity is still collectively at a very low level of consciousness, so they don't really understand what it is they're doing. And even so, even not understanding what they're doing and only being relegated to the physical laws of existence, they're still able to create amazing technology. So what I'm just saying is, if that is possible, imagine what will be possible when consciousness is raised to hyper-awareness and humanity becomes Hyperion, and they know what they're doing, understand the laws of the frequency domain, and are able to apply that to their manifestations, to their creations. So basically, my point is that VR is just a stepping stone. How amazing VR is just a stepping stone to our ability as a collective, through our collective evolution, technological evolution, to create a shared dream reality together. But anyway, and this is really important too, because it's a precursor to what I've been saying with a number of issues. And a lot of people talk about gender, and I've always said gender is such an arbitrary thing. Defining, for example, and I always give this argument, is that this whole argument over gender is going to be completely destroyed and demolished when we reach a stage in our evolution where we will be able to change our avatars at will. Oh, today I feel like having this kind of body. Tomorrow I feel like having this kind of body. Today I feel like being this sex. Tomorrow I feel like being that sex. Or even changing it multiple times in a day. You'll be able to do that. And at that point, gender will become gender, sex. You might even not remember what you were born as, because it's just completely and totally trivial. It does not matter. And you can see that this is a precursor to that. As in the metaverse, people envision that you would have a 3D avatar, a representation of yourself as you use it. And of course, you'll be able to change that avatar however you see fit. Well, again, as I said, imagine when VR becomes more and more advanced, when it's indistinguishable from regular reality, and you can wear, it's going to be that way. And then going even further to when we're able to create shared dream states and be able to just change our avatars completely. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, the point that I want to make is that VR is really a stepping stone to a lot of things that we talk about in Hyperionism. But there are some very positive things to this. Very, very positive things to this. But there is a huge negative. And the huge negative to this is the interest in big corporations. Because, as I said, Facebook is extremely interested in this. And if you've been following anything that's going on with Facebook essentially is having a monopoly. So here's the really interesting thing. Facebook is interested in Metaverse. So let's say, and it's really getting ahead of the game here. So let's say that Facebook monopolizes the Metaverse. And then let's say, project down the road, let's say that the Metaverse becomes so realistic that it's indistinguishable from reality, or becomes like a second reality, or, you know what I mean? Lines really start to blur. And imagine if Facebook has a monopoly over that. In essence, Facebook would control reality. I know that might seem kind of silly, but look how much control it has right now over social media. In that, remember when the Facebook had that blackout? And there were so many people in so many countries that just could not communicate? because Facebook controls Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, Messenger. And in some countries, that was the only means of communication they had. And so Facebook went down, they were unable to communicate at all. And look how much impact Facebook has in controlling the world narrative between what's shown in your feeds, what news gets pushed, what gets censored, what doesn't. Facebook already has a huge control over reality. Because how you perceive reality and how you communicate is reality. Reality is your perception and your ability to communicate. And so imagine the reality, imagine that Facebook monopolizes Metaverse, and let's say it gets to the point where it does start to replace reality. Facebook would essentially monopolize reality. So imagine if Facebook crashes, imagine reality crashing for a few hours. Or imagine that if you do something that Facebook doesn't like, instead of getting sent to Facebook jail for 30 days or something, you'll basically be barred from reality for 30 days. So it's this very sort of dystopian thing when we really think about it and project into the future. That's why we need to make sure that we build a future where big corporations are not the ones in control, where billionaires are not the ones in control. We want to make sure that we have a brilliant new future that is based on merit, compassion, teleology, and dialectics. For those last two, teleology means having a goal, and the goal would be the divine actualization of every single citizen and the collective, basically being the best you can possibly be for every citizen. And then dialectics basically means, it's a little complicated, but essentially what it means is that differing opinions will be allowed to flourish so that we can have this engine of difference within powering change. Basically, when new ideas come up, we don't want to stamp them out or censor them. We want to allow them to flourish so that we can have the best form of a society possible, as long as they're in accordance with reason, of course. So this is why it's important to establish that, so that when we start stepping into these virtual realities and virtual worlds, and as they take over more and more and more, that they are there as a tool so that you can have the best experience possible. Because I guarantee you right now, if that's not the case and Facebook and these big corporations take it over, it's just going to be like everything else, and that is to sell you things. Sell you things, sell you things, sell you things. Remember, imagine just, trying to do, if, VR takes over reality, imagine trying to talk to, hey, let's go hang out with my friend. But, oh, sorry, you have to watch this 3-minute advertisement first pop up. Or you can pay us $50 a month if you don't want to watch the advertisement. You see, when it becomes so important to your life that it essentially has taken over reality and it's the only form of communication, etc., you will be forced to consume content, watch advertisements. Just, and again, a lot of people are probably laughing and thinking, oh, this is so far-fetched. Your life right now is not far from that. It really isn't. It's not that far from that. You bring up a YouTube video, there's ads everywhere. I mean, my videos have ads. I don't like that that's the case. And I know, yes, I could turn them off, but that is how you make a living. That is how if I did that, I wouldn't be able to make these videos. I wouldn't be able to communicate. You become dependent on these things. You see what I mean? So life right now is not that far from it. You open up your social media, you turn on the television. When you turn on the TV and then you have, oh, sorry, we're pausing your show so you can watch 2 minutes of advertisements. It's basically what's happening is going, oh, you've just watched 5 minutes of entertainment. So because of your 5 minutes of entertainment, here is 2 minutes of brainwashing. Consume this 2 minutes of brainwashing, and then you can go back to your allotted entertainment segment. That's what it is. There's really no exaggeration here. That's what it is. Television even puts you in a very suggestible state. And so you get in this trance-like state when you're watching TV. You get into a very trance-like suggestible state. And then guess what happens? Oh, buy this. Make your teeth whiter. Make your, skin softer, whatever. Just buy. And seeps into your unconscious. So my point is that the things that we're talking about with VR taking over reality and being subjected to essentially a takeover of existence is really not that far-fetched, because it's already begun. And if you look around and you can't see it, I mean, you're blind. So VR in and of itself is not a bad thing, just like anything else. It could be an amazing and fantastic thing. But if corporations take it over, which they will, unless we do something about it, it will lead to a nightmarish future that's like the one we have now, but only exponentially worse. But anyway, let me continue reading about this, since not too many people are familiar with the metaverse and what Facebook is doing about it. So why is the metaverse suddenly a big thing? Hype about digital worlds and augmented reality pops up every few years, but it usually dies away. Oh yeah, let me explain this to you, by the way. Does anyone remember, I don't even know if it still exists, but it was Google Glass, where you would wear these Google glasses. And it was, you know, I never really followed that, but I remember that it was being talked about so there's a difference between virtual reality and augmented reality. Virtual reality puts you in this completely different simulated world. Augmented reality is when a simulated thing overlays your standard reality. So for example, if you put on Google glasses and you look at your table, you know, you might see a little character walking across your table or something. Pokemon Go is an example of augmented reality. So you might see different things overlaid over regular reality. And I remember when this was the thing, they were already starting to figure out how this could be used for real-time advertisement. So for example, let's say that something like, and I'm just using this as an example. We're not really talking too much about the metaverse now, kind of, sort of, but this is just an example of something that I actually heard that was being worked on at one point. It never gained popularity, but just to give you a flavor of what I'm talking about. So let's say that something like Google Glasses became so popular that it was like your smartphones, and just everyone had them, everyone was wearing them 24/7. So basically what the idea was let's say you were going to the supermarket to buy food. So you're wearing your Google Glasses, you're walking around the supermarket, you're buying food. Well, guess what? Now you would be overlaid by all these different advertisements. For example, let's say you're looking at in the produce section. Well, out from the bananas, one of the a banana character might jump out and go, "Hey, I'm on sale today, buy me." You see how your world would be completely integrated with advertisements and etc. And we're already at this point. I mean, this is going to get cut out of the replay, but when I was trying to get to this article, I was complaining to you guys. I can barely get to this article because all these pop-ups are popping up and these videos are playing and, hey, do you want to turn on notifications? Blah, 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 blah. Just like, let me get to the article. Imagine that being real life all the time. Just let me go shopping. I don't want to, go away, banana man. Go, I don't want to turn on your notifications right now. Like, imagine that all the time. And it's not that far-fetched. Again, it's part of your daily life. And again, it comes with censorship as well. I am not able to, I had to, I stream to both YouTube and Facebook. I had to stop the Facebook stream and only stream to YouTube because of what we're talking about today. And I don't want to be critical of Facebook on Facebook's platform because they could, do something to my account. Imagine things like that just all the time in an integrated, augmented, or virtual world. Very, very scary, very fast. So we want to make sure, and it doesn't have to be a bad thing. We could use this. Imagine the power of that kind of technology used in a positive way. We could transform humanity in a generation. We could have the best, most actualized, most amazing experience. We could use it to form connections, create new worlds, explore each other's worlds, explore art, learn and engage and grow together. Create amazing, amazing things, amazing experiences. I forget who it was. Someone told me, someone left a comment or something, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember what the exact situation was. But I believe it was someone's friend who was disabled. They were in some kind of accident or something. I don't remember to the extent, but I guess it was pretty bad. And they said that VR gave their friend a reason to live. Because yeah, imagine that. Imagine being paralyzed, unable to walk or move or something, and then being able to do VR and engage in those activities again. So you can see it could be a very, very amazing positive thing. But it's the billionaires, the corporations that will ruin everything. And the importance of this cannot be stressed enough. This is why we are so against that. So why is it suddenly a big thing? There's a huge amount of excitement about the metaverse among wealthy investors and big tech firms. And no one wants to be left behind if it turns out to be the future of the internet. And think about that. Metaverse could replace the internet. And it's not that far-fetched to think it could replace reality. Think about how far we have come. Think about Socrates. Think about Aristotle, thousands of years ago. Could they have imagined virtual reality like today? I mean, I'm sure they could have. They were very intelligent, but you see the huge leap in technology and what it's capable of. Just think about where we are now and then project a couple hundred years in the future. And really, it's probably not that far off. I say a couple hundred years, but humanity is such exponentially growing so quickly that it will probably be here sooner than you think. Much, much sooner than you think. So, yeah, the big tech firms, wealthy investors, oh yeah, they want to get in on this. They want to get on the ground floor. They want to take it over. No one wants to be left behind if it turns out to be the future. So, it's not guaranteed that it is the future. But if Facebook is going so far to say, oh yeah, we're going to be a metaverse company in 5 years and we're going to rebrand and change our name because of it, Facebook isn't just going to do something like that unless they're pretty damn sure it's going to be something big. So there's also a feeling that for the first time, the technology is nearly there, with advancements in VR gaming and connectivity coming close to what might be needed. So this is, why is Facebook involved? Facebook has made building the metaverse one of its big priorities. It's invested heavily in virtual reality through its Oculus headsets, making them cheaper than rivals, perhaps even at a loss, according to some analysts. It's building VR apps for social hangouts and for the workplace, including ones that interact with the real world. Despite its history of buying up rivals, Facebook claims the metaverse won't be built overnight by a single company and has promised to collaborate. All right, yeah, sure. We'll see how long that lasts. It has recently invested $50 million in funding nonprofit groups to help build the metaverse responsibly. This is such bullshit. Yeah, right. Like, okay, whatever. That's what. So $50 million is pennies. We donated $50 million to nonprofit groups. Big fucking $50 million. Big fucking deal with these companies worth billions of dollars. 50 million is pocket change. So it's like $10. I mean, I'm exaggerating. I mean, if I did it, it's probably like $50 or something. It's, in any case, it's a very low amount of money. And they just do these things to distract people and go, oh, look, no, we're good. See what we do? No, bullshit. So it says, but it thinks the true metaverse idea will take another 10 to 15 years. Yeah, very, very possibly. So who else is interested in the metaverse? So online multiplayer games have shared interactive worlds going back decades. They are not the metaverse, but they have some ideas in common. And then here we can see what recently happened with Ariana Grande, who in recent years, Fortnite expanded its product by hosting concerts, brand events, and more inside its own digital world. And that impressed many with what was possible. So I guess Ariana Grande recently gave a digital performance in Fortnite's metaverse. So you could go watch an Ariana Grande concert in the Fortnite verse. Meanwhile, Unity, a 3D development platform, is investing in digital twins, digital copies of the real world. And its graphic company, NVIDIA, is building its Omniverse, which it describes as a platform for connecting 3D virtual worlds. So do you see, again, the ideas I'm talking about are not that far-fetched. This is just the beginning. Imagine when cell phones just first came out in the 80s and they were these huge clunky things. and someone going, oh yeah, guess what? In the future, they'll be tiny, fit in the palm of your hands. You'll be able to video record with them. You'll be able to take pictures. You'll be able to call anyone. There's this thing called TikTok where they'd be like, no, that's crazy. Look, if they are already talking about building a digital copy of the real world, and an omniverse was a platform for connecting 3D virtual worlds, obviously there will become a point in time where the line between reality and digital worlds will blur and become indistinguishable, and you will have to rely on them to do anything. You'll have to rely on them. And again, this doesn't have to be a bad thing, because remember, once humanity adopts Hyperianism and starts to study ontological mathematics and knows how to understand the laws of the frequency domain and the mental world, this will be a huge boon and stepping stone in developing our own worlds through a blend of understanding things through technology and our mental synchronization and evolution and all these different things. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Ultimately, we do want to create an entirely new shared world, and this is a stepping stone to it. But we don't want big corporations and wealthy investors being in charge of reality. You don't want to get Facebook banned from existence for a few months. It's very, very scary. It's a big problem. Again, people might think it's a silly no, it's real. It's real. And it starts with what we experience right now in our everyday day-to-day world. So is it all about games? No, even though there are so many ideas about what the metaverse might be, most visions see human interaction as the core. Facebook has been experimenting with VR meeting apps. VR chat is focused around hanging out online and chatting with no other purpose other than exploring virtual environments and meeting people. So, and then basically saying that although everything is still in its early stages, the evolution of the metaverse, if it happens at all, will be fought among tech giants for the next decade or even longer. So, and then we can read over here that Facebook sets up a new team to work on the metaverse. So Facebook is creating a product team to work on the metaverse, a digital world where people can move between different devices and communicate in a virtual environment, CEO Mark Zuckerberg said on Monday. The team will be part of the company's virtual reality organization, the group's executive Andrew Bosworth said in a Facebook post. You can think about the metaverse as an embodied internet, where instead of just viewing content, you are in it, CEO Mark Zuckerberg said. Facebook, the world's largest social network, has invested heavily in virtual reality and augmented reality, developing Oculus headsets and working on AR glasses and wristband technology. It has also bought a bevy of VR gaming studios. It has 10,000 employees working on virtual reality. Zuckerberg said he thinks it makes sense to invest deeply to shape what he bets will be the next big computing platform. Zuckerberg said, I believe the metaverse will be the successor to the mobile internet, and creating this product group is the next step in our journey to help build it. Oh, isn't that nice? He just wants to help out. He just wants to help. Right. He told Verge, if we do this well, I think over the next 5 years or so, we will effectively transition from people to seeing us as primarily being a social media company to being a metaverse company. And he says his goal is to do this in 5 years. And we can see he's so he's so invested in this. Let's see. I'm going to bring this up. Facebook is planning to rebrand the company with a new name. Mark Zuckerberg wants to be known for building the metaverse. Facebook is planning to change its company name next week to reflect its focus on building the metaverse, according to a source with direct knowledge on the matter. The coming name change, with CEO Mark Zuckerberg plans to talk about, but could unveil sooner, is meant to signal the tech giant's ambition to be known for more than social media and all the ills that entail. By the way, notice all these damn pop-ups and shit, just even trying to read a simple article. Put in your email here. Here's this video playing right now, and whatever is loading over here. Oh, look at that. Just Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Imagine that, but reality. You know, you're trying to have a conversation with a friend and it's just pop up, watch this, buy that. Sorry, pause for 2 minutes while you have to view this. The rebrand would likely position the blue Facebook app as one of the many products under a parent company overseeing groups like Instagram, WhatsApp, Oculus, and more. Facebook already has 10,000 employees building consumer hardware like augmented reality glasses that Zuckerberg believes will eventually be as ubiquitous as smartphones. You see what I said? Remember when I was using that just as an example of wearing these glasses where everyone is wearing them just like, at a smartphone. And here, he's saying it. They're working on AR glasses that he believes will be as ubiquitous as smartphones. And he told The Verge that over the next several years, Zuckerberg said, we will effectively transition from people to seeing us as primarily being a social media company to being a metaverse company. A rebrand could also serve to further separate the future work Zuckerberg is focused on from the intense scrutiny Facebook is currently under for the way its social media platform operates today. And then talking about the whistleblower and the damning internal documents that came out, which I did a video of. Just go to my videos. We talked about it. It's called What the Facebook Shutdown Really Means or something like that. Check that out. I talk about all that. But you see how he's rebranding and switching to the metaverse to separate himself from the intense scrutiny that Facebook is under because they handle their social media platform in a terrible way. So basically, it's like, oh, well, and do you see the irony here? He's coming under all this heat for his monopoly and terrible handling of social media. So he's like, oh, well, let's just move on to the metaverse. Yeah, like you're going to really do any better there. I'm sure it's going to be just completely different. Let me see if there's any more. This is, you can read this article for yourself if you'd like. It's on The Verge. But it's just continuing to talk about, the hiring of 10,000 more employees to work on the metaverse in Europe. The metaverse Zuckerberg said, is going to be a big focus. And I think that it's just going to be a big part of the next chapter for the way that the internet evolves after the mobile internet, Zuckerberg told The Verge. And I think it's going to be the next big chapter for our company too, really doubling down in this area. And honestly, you're a fool if you think he's going to handle the metaverse any differently than he handles the social media platforms. Complicating matters is that while Facebook has been heavily promoting the idea of the metaverse in recent weeks, it's still not a concept that is widely understood. The term was coined originally by sci-fi novelist Neil Stephenson to describe a virtual world where people escape from a dystopian real world. Now it's being adopted by one of the world's largest and most controversial companies. And it'll have to explain why its own virtual world is worth diving into. So that's one of the things too. The metaverse is not guaranteed. It could be this thing that everyone's super excited about and maybe doesn't even exist. But whether this specific thing does, and it looks like it will because of the huge interest surrounding it, but even if it doesn't, something like it will come about eventually. I mean, you can already see it. It's already happening. Again, with like Ariana Grande giving a virtual concert in a virtual world. I mean, it's already starting to happen. Whether this specific thing that is specifically called the metaverse takes off, it remains to be seen, even though it looks like it probably will. It remains to be seen. But regardless if that specific thing does or not, this will happen. And you can bet your ass that tech companies and billionaires and investors are going to be the first ones to get their greedy hands on it. Absolutely. 100%. No doubt in my mind that this will be the case. And what it's going to be used for. What it's going to be used for. Do you think it's going to be used for the betterment of humanity? Or do you think it's going to be used to put more money in Zuckerberg's pocket and please the advertisers? Of course that's what it's going to do. I mean, again, you're a fool if you think that you can just go up to a lion and it's going to play nice with you. No, it's going to eat you. That's what it does. That's what happens. That's what happens. So, I mean, again, while the metaverse and these VR ideas are extremely interesting and could be tremendously beneficial to humanity, this is why it is imperative that we change the world and remove these asshole billionaire individuals who don't give a fuck about you. And see, just even me saying fuck, like I'm probably going to be demonetized now for this video and stuff. But you see how, again, we're not even in a VR world and I have to watch what I say. Imagine when it is 100 times more so dominating in life. I mean, I'm on a platform right now communicating to you digitally on a social media platform. And I can't stream this to Facebook. I have to be careful what I say. I have to make sure, oh, well, I can't do this and this and that because the advertisers aren't happy about it. And see, here's the thing is when I make videos, and I talked about this before, but when I make videos, guess what I have to do? I have to please the advertisers. And here's why. Let me tell you why. Because of course, yeah, when I get advertisements on my videos, I do, get some money from that. And that's fine, and that's all well and good. It helps keep a roof over my head and all that, in addition to your guys' support, and that's great. But here's the thing. Even if I said, oh, fuck that, to hell with that. And sometimes I do, because there are just certain things, like right now, obviously, I mean, who knows? I don't know. Sometimes you don't know. You never know what's going to trigger it or not. But anyway, here's the thing. When you do something that does not please the advertisers, so let's say your video gets demonetized, it's not just that you don't make money. They don't show it to anybody. Every time a video of mine, that in my experience, especially on Facebook, I don't know so much about YouTube. YouTube's a lot better than Facebook, okay? YouTube has a lot of problems. It absolutely does, but it's a lot better than Facebook. But on Facebook, whenever a video of mine gets demonetized, guess what happens? They don't show it to anybody. Nobody sees it. And why is that? Well, of course, because there's no ads on it. So Facebook is not going to show people a video that doesn't have ads on it because now Facebook is not making any money. They're going to show them a video that does have ads on it because they want you to watch the ads and they want to make money. You see the thing? So it's not even just about, oh, well, if I don't do a video a certain way, it won't make money. No, it's not about that. It's that nobody will see it. So that's why I'm really restricted in some of the content that I can talk about, because if it's a certain way, no one will see it. I can make this video and it'll get, a couple hundred views because it won't show it to anybody. So that's why I formulate certain content in the way that I do, so that it will be able to be shown to people. People will actually see it. And it's just all these hoops you have to jump through. I would love to be able to just see, and that's the thing too. There are so many things going on in the world that I guarantee you that you don't know about because it's not showing up in your social media feeds. Because they won't show you things that advertisers don't want to be associated with, which means they aren't going to show you, something horrible that might be going on, where say violence is happening or women's rights are being violated or something like that. This will not be pushed into your news feeds because advertisers don't want to be associated with it. Therefore, Facebook and the social media algorithms won't push it because then they won't be making any money. So you get stuck in this bubble where you don't even know what's going on in the real world unless you actively go out to search it for yourself. Which I know some of you guys out there probably do that, and that's awesome because you guys are great. But most people, the majority of the world, how they understand what's happening, they just rely on what comes up in their newsfeed. They're not going to go out and actively search and try and see what's going on. All they get and consume is what's shown to them. And the only thing that's going to be shown to them is what Facebook or whatever platform they're on wants to show to them. And they're only going to show them things that the advertisers like. Anyway, I'm going on a big rant here. Because it is very frustrating for me being a content creator, especially as a content creator whose goal is to spread information, and not being able to talk about certain things is very frustrating. As I'm sure you know, I talk about it a lot. But my whole point here, and I know I got a little off track, but my whole point here is that virtual reality, the metaverse and all that could be awesome, could be amazing. However, how amazing and interesting it could be, just imagine, I know so many people who hate Facebook. They don't even have Facebook accounts because it's just, you constantly get banned, you constantly get censored, you can't say anything. It's just a real toxic environment. I use Facebook all the time because it's great for getting your message out there if you do it the right way. Like we have over 1 million, we have 1.1 million or something followers on Facebook, which is incredible. But how, toxic Facebook is, imagine the ubiquity of VR and the metaverse and augmented glasses, and imagine companies like Facebook being in control of that and being forced to be in that environment all the time. This is why it is imperative that we build a new world that, guess what, isn't based on advertisement and money. Do you see how hellish this world has become? But it does not have to be. That's why in a new Hyperion society, we need merit, compassion, teleology, and dialectics. I've briefly explained them. But the important part here, what we're talking about, is teleology. In a goal. What is the goal? The actualization of every single citizen and the collective. In other words, making sure that everyone has the best experience and opportunity for growth that they can possibly have. Wouldn't that be an amazing world if instead of everything tuned and algorithmically set to sell you things? Buy this, watch this video, here's this pop-up. What if everything was algorithmically set to give you the best possible life and the best possible experience and the best possible opportunities? Wouldn't that be nice? That's not a crazy idea. People, that's the thing that frustrates me, is people think that's such a crazy idea. No, it's not a crazy idea. It should be default. It should be the default idea. And again, to really get in it, think of it from an alien perspective, and imagine an alien coming down to Earth. They'd be like, why haven't you guys done this? Obviously you should. It's just, this place is a madhouse. Why is everyone killing each other? Why are people going hungry? Why, it doesn't make sense because it doesn't need to be this way. It's a madhouse. It's chaos. It's destruction. That's why I talked about Squid Game in my recent videos. We are in Squid Game. We are in this. This is it. This. If you don't wake up and don't see it and see the death and destruction and decay and greed all around you 24/7, you are blind. It's there. It's in your face. And I get so frustrated because people can't see it. They can't. And it's mind-boggling to me because it's so obvious. People are walking around with essentially, a huge knife stuck in their chest. And they're just like, it's fine. Everything's fine. That dog meme, drinking the cup of coffee with the fire everywhere. And it's like, it's fine. That's everybody. It's like, no, take the knife out of your chest, put out the fire, and help us make things better. Because that's the idea, is that this world isn't even at the most basic setting. There are people that can't even survive in this world. There are people who are dying of hunger. There are people who are dying of disease. There are people who are dying in wars. It's not even at the level where it's set to make it so that people can survive. We want to create a world where it's not even just about surviving, but it's about thriving. This world isn't even at the survival level. It's just, it can't even provide an environment where people can stay alive. Do you see how bad it is? We don't want to just have a world where people can stay alive. We want to have a world where people can thrive, have the best experience possible, have the best life possible, have the most opportunity for growth. And it's not something that would take a rocket scientist to implement. It's actually quite simple. You implement laws and taxes so that the billionaires cannot exist. They go out of existence and cannot return to power. And then you set up in the world a system that is based on merit, teleology, compassion, and dialectics, and include within this system a universal basic income, free housing for everyone, free universal health care, the access to the best education free for everyone, along with the best psychology and therapy, free, available to everyone. And then people should be rewarded according to how much they meritably contribute to the world. And so now you have the system where everyone on the default setting, the very, very, very basic setting, not only is able to survive, but thrive. Not only has access to a house and food, which would be survival, but also has the ability to thrive by having access to the world's best education, the world's best healthcare, the world's best therapy, the world's best everything that you can that would contribute to their personal growth. Because why? Why would we do this? Because we have a teleology, we have a goal. The goal is to transform humanity and the earth by giving every single citizen the best possible experience and opportunity for growth possible, the citizen and the collective. Anyway, I ranted quite a bit because this is something that's very important to me. You know, this is why I do what I do. This is what I'm about, and it just blows my mind how people are blind to it. I just get people every day. Again, these ideas are not controversial. They are controversial, but they should not be. It should be blindingly apparent, illuminatingly apparent. But the problem is that our light is so bright, it is perceived as darkness to the world because they can't handle the light. And anyone with any ounce of sense would realize, obviously, this is how it should be done. And it frustrates me to no end because every day I get people saying, oh, no, that would never work. That's a utopian. You know, no, the world could never be that way. Yes, it could, and it could very easily be. It's the people who say that it can't is the reason why it isn't. So it absolutely can. And I know I said I would stop. So let me stop this rant because we've gotten way off track. But I hope you can see why this is so important to me, why this is so important to Hyperianism, why it's important to really transform this world and make it a beautiful place to exist instead of the hell that it is. And that's why it is our goal to create that unconquerable citadel on the hill, New Terra. I want to give a big shout out to everyone who supports on Patreon, especially Cassidy, Renaissance Fairy, and Jordy. Thank you so much. This is how I'm able to do my work. This is how I'm able to create, especially with all the platforming and bullshit on Facebook and YouTube and all that. So thank you guys so much. Anyone that supports on Patreon at any level or tier 2 on YouTube gets access to our weekly secret live streams, our hidden Discord server, the Citadel, and my hidden lecture notes. And we're having a secret live stream right after this, so you'll be able to be a part of it. Thank you very much.